Imagine receiving an offer you simply can't refuse, a salary that would change your life, investments that could multiply your wealth, the chance to live free from financial worries. But there's one small catch. To accept it, you'd have to give up something you truly value, whether it's time with family, a moral principle, or even your peace of mind. What would you do? Most people believe they would never change for money, but the truth is, this transformation rarely happens all at once. It creeps in through small choices. First, a job that pays well but feels meaningless. Then, an investment that generates profit but contradicts your values. Eventually, a lifestyle that demands more and more money, forcing compromises that once seemed unthinkable. These small betrayals go unnoticed in daily life, but over time they shape who we become. Without realizing it, many stop controlling money and start being controlled by it. But why does this happen? If money is just a means of exchange, why does it have so much power over us? How does something meant to serve us end up ruling our lives? Why do so many sacrifice character, relationships, and even inner peace in pursuit of wealth? Are we truly in control of our money, or does it control us? Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoics had already observed this phenomenon. They understood that the real threat was never wealth itself, but the way we relate to it. Because in the end, money doesn't change us. It only reveals who we truly are. But if this is the reality, is there a way to escape the trap? Can we achieve prosperity without losing ourselves in the process? To answer that, we need to uncover the hidden dangers of money and explore what the Stoics taught about how to handle it. If you ask someone whether money changes people, the most common answer will be, it depends on the person. But is that really true? Does money merely reveal who we already were, or does it have the power to transform us? To answer this, we need to look at recurring patterns throughout history. People who, after acquiring wealth, started behaving differently, often without even realizing it. Money doesn't announce when it begins influencing our decisions. At first, it arrives as a solution to real problems, paying bills, ensuring comfort, providing security. But as it grows, it becomes a powerful psychological force, subtly shifting our priorities. What once was just a tool slowly turns into the deciding factor in what we accept or reject in life. One of the first effects of money is how it fuels the ego. Almost invisibly, it suggests that those who have more are worth more. This manifests in small ways: impatience with those who have less, the need for recognition, the desire for status. The problem is, the ego is never satisfied. It always demands more, and the more money one acquires, the greater the trap of defining oneself by it. Beyond that, money creates a kind of emotional dependency that is hard to recognize. The more someone has, the greater their fear of losing it. What should feel like an achievement turns into a source of anxiety. The person is no longer working just to grow, but to protect what they've accumulated. At this point, money stops being a means and becomes an end in itself. But perhaps the most dangerous effect is how money distorts the perception of what truly matters. Over time, some people start measuring everything by its financial value, relationships, time, even their own sense of purpose. Experiences that were once valued for what they were become judged by their cost or return. Money, which should serve as a means to something greater, becomes the ultimate deciding factor. This doesn't mean that everyone who acquires wealth goes through this transformation, but it's undeniable that money tests our priorities. What once seemed non-negotiable starts to feel flexible. What used to be a firm never turns into a hesitant maybe. And before we know it, we are no longer the same. In the end, the real question isn't just whether money changes people, but how far we're willing to let it change us. If even those who have more still live in fear, then maybe the problem was never about how much money we have, but about the way it takes root in our minds. What makes this issue even more complex is that for many, money isn't just about power or status. It represents security. The idea that accumulating wealth is the key to a worry-free life is widely accepted, but reality tells a different story. Even those who have reached significant financial heights remain restless, always chasing more, fearing the loss of what they've built. This anxiety isn't just about the real possibility of losing money. It stems from the fact that financial security, as it's sold to us, is never absolute. There's always a looming risk, an economic crisis, a bad investment, an unexpected shift. The fear of scarcity doesn't disappear with wealth. It just takes on a new form. At first, the fear is not having enough. Then it becomes the fear of not having as much as before. And so, the sense of stability turns into a moving target, always just out of reach. On top of that, the more money someone has, the harder it becomes to make decisions without considering the financial impact. Money starts dictating not just what one can or cannot buy, but also how they should behave. Personal relationships begin to take on a transactional lens. Moments of leisure or rest can be disrupted by concerns over assets. And in a quiet but powerful way, the pursuit of security can end up becoming a new form of captivity. The irony is that for many, financial freedom ends up introducing new limitations. Instead of eliminating worries, it creates new anxieties. Instead of providing peace of mind, it generates a fear of making mistakes. Money, which should be a tool for a better life, becomes the centerpiece of every decision, demanding more and more attention and energy. If wealth doesn't guarantee peace and financial security is never truly enough, then what's the real solution? The answer isn't in chasing more money, but in changing the way we relate to it. There is a mindset that challenges this obsession and offers a way to achieve prosperity without being consumed by it. The belief that money can bring stability and peace of mind is nothing new. Throughout history, many have been guided by the illusion that accumulating wealth would lead to true tranquility. However, those who have deeply reflected on this issue realized that the real problem isn't money itself, but the relationship we develop with it. Seneca, one of the wealthiest Stoic philosophers, understood this danger better than most. He held positions of great influence in Rome, amassed fortunes, and lived surrounded by luxury. Yet his greatest fear was not losing his wealth, but becoming dependent on it. To counter this, he practiced voluntary detachment, fasting, sleeping on the ground, and depriving himself of comfort to remind himself that even if everything were taken away, he could still endure. For Seneca, true wealth was not needing wealth. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, faced a similar dilemma, but on a much larger scale. As the ruler of a vast empire, he had access to everything one could desire. Yet, in his personal writings, he constantly reflected on the fleeting nature of fortune and the danger of becoming attached to it. He knew that emperors before him had been consumed by power and luxury, becoming prisoners of their own possessions. To avoid this fate, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that wealth, glory, and even life itself were temporary. Another example of integrity in the face of money comes from Aristides the Just. He was one of the most respected statesmen of Athens, yet unlike many of his contemporaries, he never used his position to enrich himself. While other politicians amassed fortunes through corruption, Aristides remained loyal to his principles, refusing any financial gain obtained through questionable means. His honesty was so undeniable that he was exiled, not for corruption, but because his righteousness made those seeking personal advantage uncomfortable. Aristides died poor, but his name remained a symbol of integrity, proving that true wealth lies in a reputation built on character. Cicero, the great Roman orator and philosopher, also saw money as something that should always be subordinate to ethics. He did not condemn the pursuit of prosperity, but he warned that it should serve noble purposes and never become an end in itself. To Cicero, true failure was not a lack of wealth, but the loss of honor in its pursuit. He believed that those who sacrificed their principles for money had already paid too high a price, even before accumulating any fortune. History also shows us examples of men who failed the test of money and power, compromising their values. Yet one rare case stands out: Titus Labienus, a highly skilled Roman general who fought alongside Julius Caesar. When he realized that his loyalty was at stake, he made an uncommon choice for his time, despite having everything to gain by staying. With the dictator, Labienus walked away from the promise of security and wealth, choosing instead to follow his conscience, even if it meant facing an uncertain fate. His story reinforces a core Stoic principle: a man's worth is not defined by his fortune, but by his commitment to his values. These examples demonstrate that one's relationship with money has always been a test of character. It doesn't matter whether someone is born into poverty, power, or wealth. Money always presents a dilemma. It can be a tool for freedom or an invisible chain. The difference lies in who controls it and who is controlled by it. But how can we put this into practice? How can we develop a financial mindset that strengthens rather than destroys our values? To answer that, we need to turn these philosophical reflections into concrete actions. Stoic philosophy isn't just about theory, it demands practice. Simply knowing that money can trap us if we grow attached to it isn't enough. Real change happens when we apply this knowledge in daily life. If wealth and values can come into conflict, The solution isn't to reject money, but to build a relationship with it that strengthens our integrity rather than corrupts it. One of the first actions a Stoic takes is setting clear limits on how much influence money has over their life. Many people spend their entire lives chasing more, never stopping to ask, for what purpose? Without a conscious definition of what is enough, any amount will always seem insufficient. A powerful exercise is to write down, in clear terms, what standard of living is acceptable to you and what compromises you will never make for money. Another essential practice is intentionally embracing discomfort. This isn't about giving up wealth, but ensuring that your identity and well-being don't depend on it. Some Stoics trained this mindset by spending periods wearing simple clothes, eating less than they desired, or living with minimal resources. Today, this can translate into a practical challenge. Try going a while without buying anything non-essential, and observe whether your desire to consume comes from necessity or habit. The way we use money also reflects what we truly value. Impulsive spending, hoarding wealth without purpose, or measuring self-worth by financial status are signs that money may be dictating your choices. A Stoic, instead, adopts financial consciousness. Every purchase or investment is analyzed through the lens of utility and principles. Before spending, ask yourself one simple but powerful question. Does this reflect who I am and what I truly value? If money has the power to change people, the first step to avoiding this trap is having a well-defined identity. Those who don't know what they stand for, what their values are, and what truly matters to them end up being shaped by what they have, or what they want to have. Strengthening this identity is an internal process that starts with clarity about non-negotiable principles and is reflected in everyday decisions. In ancient Rome, the senator and philosopher Thrasea Paetus was an example of someone who never allowed wealth or power to compromise his values. He refused to take part in the political corruption of the empire, even knowing that his resistance could cost him his position and eventually his life. In a world where many sold themselves for favors and stability, he remained unwavering. His story reminds us that money and influence aren't the problem. The problem arises when we sacrifice our beliefs to obtain or maintain them. Beyond maintaining strong principles, a Stoic values knowledge above material wealth. If money can be lost, stolen, or devalued, learning is the one investment that can never be taken away. Strengthening the mind and improving decision-making skills is the key to ensuring that money never becomes an end in itself. If you want to go deeper into this wisdom and learn how to apply Stoic principles to build a healthier financial mindset, I recommend the guide Stoic Wealth: How Philosophical Lessons Can Transform Your Financial Life. This material compiles essential teachings for a financial life that aligns with your values. The link is in the first pinned comment. Another important principle is to never let money define your social circle. The desire for status can lead to poor financial decisions and a loss of authenticity. A Stoic chooses their company based on character, not net worth. Reflect: Do the people around you share your principles or just your financial interests? Finally, one core Stoic concept applies directly to our relationship with money. True freedom isn't about having more, but needing less. This doesn't mean living in scarcity, but recognizing that real wealth is the ability to live according to your values without depending on excess to feel complete. Money is useful, but it should never be a substitute for purpose, integrity, or inner peace. In the end, money itself doesn't have the power to corrupt anyone. It merely amplifies what already exists within a person. If someone is driven by vanity, money becomes a tool to feed their ego. If someone is ruled by fear, it becomes a chain that binds them to uncertainty. But if someone has a clear sense of values and principles, money can serve as a means of freedom rather than an invisible prison. The Stoic solution to avoiding money's control lies in the discipline of your choices. When you set clear boundaries for what truly matters, you free yourself from the endless pursuit of more. When you strengthen your identity, you are not defined by what you have or lack. And when you understand that true wealth isn't measured by your bank account, but by your ability to live in alignment with your values, no amount of money in the world will be able to corrupt you. At the end of the day, the real question isn't how much money you can make, but who you become in the process. Because wealth without purpose is just empty accumulation, but money used wisely becomes an ally for a balanced and fulfilling life. If this message resonated with you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Here, we explore Stoicism and how it can reshape your perspective on money, freedom, and purpose. Now tell me, which of these reflections spoke to you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Remember, money can buy many things, but it can never buy who you truly are. Stay on the path to prosperity until we meet again.